Yisaitis you're going to get in Musa is these Yisaitis here, right? Should be printed in the background of our phones. When you turn it on, you have those sentences, can change the perspective. All right. Here we go. Lamda Shadaf. We have 1 day off of brothers marrying sisters.
So, I mean, I shouldn't be upset that nobody bought me Reb Chaim Stender, is what you're saying.
Yes. Or the auction the other day, Satmar Rebbe's matzah from Reb Yailish.
First of all, they didn't announce who bought it yet. It could be it's still coming. Relax.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
There's still time.
I think Zevi bought it for his
front porch.
father-in-law.
What?
I think Zevi bought it for his father-in-law.
Oh, yeah? Okay. What they auction?
Wait on the front porch.
Auction for Reb Yailish? What did you say?
What's that? We're learning Yevamos. He bought it. We're learning Yevamos. He bought it for his. He bought it for his other father-in-law.
Very good, Naftali. Elio sent me his thing. I don't know how much it went for. A piece of matzah in glass from Reb Yailish, from his Afikaiman or from something. Yeah, that would work.
Satmar's Gavaldi.
Yeah.
That matzah's been gone for 40 years, but it still looks like you get off.
What?
How much did it go for?
I think close to $10,000.
Wow.
Crazy. Baron, I would have sold him a piece of Reb Yoel's matzah for $5,000.
Yeah.
How do you any first matzah left over?
I would break up to another 6 pieces. What do you?
Right.
They're very good.
Very good. Chachi shares also or something,
Right.
It wasn't iron. I'll send you the picture. There wasn't much there.
Oh, it was already a Chachi share.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So let's go. Let's try and learn some Yevamos. So maybe we get to the level of Satmar Rebbe, and then they'll be auctioning off our matzahs, right? I don't know if that's Yevamos is the way to hit that goal, but yeah. Okay. Oh, let's just repeat the Mishnah again. So basically, tonight is all about safek derabanan, safek deraisas versus chazaka. That's what I would say. It is when you have svekas, and then where does chazaka play in? Chazaka the Mishnah. But kulan shayu ben kiddushin a gerushin safek. If all these cases have kiddushin and gerushin with a safek, then harei elu hatzaras chaltzas v'lem yavas. That means the tzaras will have chalitza, not yibum. Again, just to use the standard case of all, meaning all 15 cases where we said normally somebody marries a woman and he dies, so then the brother dies without kids, the brother has to do yibum. Fine. What happens if that brother has a wife that he has 2 wives? One of those wives, if his brother that's alive is supposed to do yibum, that wife is a erva to him, so he's not allowed to do yibum, right? And the other wife goes free. Mamela, the other wife goes free, right? That's the standard case. But what happens if the kiddushin to the woman that's the erva was a safek of a kiddushin, or if the first brother divorced his wife, right? I'm sorry, not the first brother. The second brother divorced his wife, and there's a shaila on the divorce. Meaning, if he divorced his wife, then the yibum could be done by the tzara because there's no longer erva because they got divorced, right? That should we? Yeah. Okay. It doesn't. It's either we get this, or we don't get this. It doesn't make a difference for understanding the daf. That's just the case that the Mishnah goes to. But the bottom line is if a person has a safek kiddushin or a safek gerushin, so what's the din? Do we say that they're married? Do we say that they're divorced or not? That's essentially what it is. So ketzat safek kiddushin. What is a safek of kiddushin? Zorak la kiddushin, and he threw her the kiddushin, which means he either threw her the ring, or money, or a star, right? Safek karav lo, safek karav lo. And we don't know if it went closer to her or not closer to her, meaning there was 8 amas in between them, and he threw it and was right in the middle, and they didn't have instant replay, and they didn't have anything like that. So now they're trying to figure out who was it closer to. It was closer to her, they're married. It was closer to him, they're not married. Sales safek kiddushin, that's a safek of kiddushin. Now you would think safek gerushin should be the same case. What's a safek of a divorce? He throws a get to his wife. If it's closer to her, she's divorced. If it's closer to him, she's not divorced, right? But the Gemara chooses not to do that, not to say that case, which is going to be the subject of the entire daf tonight. Why the Gemara chose not to use the same example by get. And there's going to be three answers in the Gemara, right? One answer is going to take one Amud of questions on it, right? I don't want to make the Olam nervous, but that's fine. So what's safek gerushin? Safek gerushin is kasav v'ksav yadai. If he wrote it in his own handwriting, ve'ein alav edim, and there's no edim on it, or meaning there's no witnesses signed on the get. Yeshua, but it's clearly his handwriting. So maybe it is a get, maybe it's not a get. Yeshua edim, or there are edim ve'ein b'zman. You need a zman in the get to know when. We'll see on Amud Beis. There's a couple of reasons why you need to have a date written in the get, but the main reason is to know when the husband has to stop eating from the lands that his wife owned, right? Let's say it has a date, but it doesn't have any witnesses, only has one witness, safek gerushin, that's a safek gerushin, and therefore, if that were to happen in this case, so then you can't let the tzara go free, but she's going to need chalitza and not yibum. Fine. So I'm going to ask, if it's a safek, whether it's close to her or close to him, why can't that be the safek of whether they're divorced, right? As the same as kiddushin. My timer, why didn't you say the same reason? So this woman has a chazaka that she's mutter to marry everybody. Now you have a doubt, right? Let's just use it as a regular lady, right? You have a lady who was married, right? And now there's either a death or a get. We're not trying to figure out whether it was a divorce or not. So the lady has a chazaka that she's mutter, right? She's mutter to the shuk. You want to say, oh, maybe this get was closer to, maybe it wasn't. Your safek is, you wanted the safek to tell you to break the chazaka. Don't make a safek.
I didn't understand the case, Yaakov. What's the case? Yeah. If she's married, she's not mutter to the shuk. What are you saying?
Oh, so that's why. I was hoping nobody was going to ask that on my example. So I was just trying to make it simple. No, I was just trying to make it. You're right. If she's married, right? If she was married and now there's a safek on the get, then the chazaka is that she's married.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So right. In the standard case, that would be 100%. In this case, she had a husband who died.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Now we have to take
why
it to the next
why
level.
do you have, okay, I'm not going to, I don't know why you make a case that she was married. She's a single lady. What was after?
Why don't you do a get to a single lady? You mean you want to for kiddushin?
You said the guy was dead. You said the guy died.
That's meaning there's two different cases. There's a case of safek kiddushin. There's a case of safek gerushin. If you do safek kiddushin, today you're right. So that's a single lady, right? Now we don't know if the kiddushin, is she married or not. So we're going to say the chazaka is that she's mutter. You want to say that there's a safek of the get going of the money going to her? Why should the safek make her usher to everybody? Chazaka is that she's mutter to marry whoever she wants. Right? You want to come over and say frumkeit that this guy came and threw a nickel towards her and maybe it landed by her and he said areyat mikudeshes li, right? That's a safek. You don't want that safek to take her out of her chazaka. Yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. Meaning you have a lady who's single. Her chazaka is that she can marry whoever she wants. Then comes a shaila. Remember we had that shaila with the lady with the pizza. The guy gave her the pizza and said a few weeks ago somebody asked this to me in the pizza shop. A guy handed her a box of pizza and he said Hareyat Mikudeshes Li or something like that. So she made him put it down. Right. So let's say that's a shiloh now. Let's say that would be a shiloh. So her chazaka is that she's a single girl and she can marry whoever she wants. You want to have a shiloh now whether the pizza was a good kiddushin, not a good kiddushin. That's a safek. A safek doesn't take you out of a chazaka. Right. That's the main yesod of saying it. Now, how do we apply this to yibum and chalitza? So here you had a brother who was married to you had a brother married to a woman. Now his brother has to do yibum because he died without without, right? Again, let's do Reuven and Shimon. Reuven was married to a woman. Reuven died without kids. Shimon has to do yibum to his wife. Great. Now, his wife is an erva to Shimon. Either it's his mother-in-law, it's his daughter, whatever the cases are, it's immaterial. But he also has a co-wife. Reuven had two wives. One who wasn't an erva to Shimon and one who was an erva to Shimon. So then, if there was a shaila in the kiddushin of Shimon to the erva, or there was a shaila whether he divorced her, right? So the chazaka tells us that the husband died and the wife can go free, that there was an erva here, so the wife can go marry whoever she wants. You want to say there was a shaila, so then you want to answer her because of that? We're going to say no, that's a safek. It's a safek of the kiddushin, it's a safek of the get. A safek does not take you out of the chazaka, and that's it, right? Fine. So then that's what the Gemara asked then. Okay, so again, we're saying if there was a safek of kiddushin, she goes free. So Amalei Abaya, Iachi b'kiddushin nami. Let's say that this woman has a chazaka that she's suffers here. Okay, Naftali just came in with some food. Okay, whatever happened to Cholent Thursday nights? Okay, we have to figure that out. Have to pay some. Yeah,
It's right there.
Cholent is here. The question is, people are not here. Well, two people are here. No offense.
No offense taken.
Yeah. So Amalei Iachi b'kiddushin nami nema ishazu b'cheskes heter liyavam medes. Let's say by kiddushin, this woman is mutter to do yibum to her. You want to come and say she's awesome, meaning by the kiddushin, she could really have yibum done to her, right? Because her brother-in-law, her husband died, and her brother's going to do yibum. And misafek, you want to say aser, al taser on misafek. Don't say it's aser from safek, right? Because why are you making her do chalitza? Why shouldn't she be able to do yibum? So our answer is hasam l'chumra. No, there it's a chumra, right? So if it's a chumra, we don't want to be machmer. Meaning we're going to say, I'm saying the chumra we're going to be machmer, right? Because by gerushin, we're going to say, no, by gerushin we don't want to ask her from safek, but by kiddushin, it's going to be a chumra. Right, which is meaning. I'm sorry, I didn't explain it properly. By getting, there's a chazaka that she's mutter. We're gonna want to make her aser. We're not gonna make her aser. But by kiddushin, lechumra will make her do chalitza. What's the big deal to let her do chalitza? Better than doing yibum. Yibum is a shaila whether it's an issa daraisa to do yibum. We don't know if they were ever married. So why not do chalitza? What's the big deal? Do chalitza, then she's gonna be fine. So then we're about 6 lines up from the bottom of Lamed Amud Beis. Yeah, so Gemara asks, "Hi chumra dasli de kulahu," right? Our favorite line. You don't like chumras, the asli de kulas, right? That's a good. There's a Gemara up there. That's a good Pesach. It's a Pesach thing. You do a chumra that's asli de kula. Yeah, you're gonna get stressed out and stress out the family with your chumras. That's a chumra dasli de kula, right? Anyway, so hi chumra asli de kula. It's a chumra that's going to come to a kula. Why? The zimnin, the azalhu umekadash alachaisa kedusha vade. Because this guy, you told him that he had a safek. You told him that he had a safek of kiddushin. So you know what he's going to do? He's going to go be mekadash's sister. You say, hey, they told me I'm not married, right? So he did chalitza. He had to do chalitza. He said, so I was never really married to her, right? So I might as well go marry your sister. But the problem is that maybe he was married. So then he's marrying somebody shaloi kedim. Let's say a stranger comes along. You have this lady, we don't know if she's married or not. Comes along a stranger and says, oh, they said it's a safek. Let me marry her. Now we know that if somebody's makadosh a married woman, the kiddushin is meaningless, right? There's a chiv kares, so the kiddushin is meaningless. So what's going to happen? So now you have this one guy who has a safek whether he's married to this woman, and then came another guy and married her vada. So people are going to think that the second guy, his marriage is okay, right? And when really it's not. Maybe if the first guy's marriage was a marriage, then the second one's marriage was nothing, right? So that's the same. Another one is going to come and be Makadasher, Kiddushay Vade, a definite Kiddushin. But even the Asa Lamar Litzara, the Yevume, and since Mar allowed the Tzara to have yibum, Amri the Kama kiddushin, they're going to say that the first person's marriage was a kiddushin, Uda Basra lav kiddushin, and the second one was not a kiddushin, when it's really the opposite. It's really that the first one was not a kiddushin and the second one is a kiddushin. So now you're going to have a whole mix-up. So that's what's going to happen if you're going to allow chalitza. So Gemara answers on top of Amud Aleph, now to keep in the mitzrachas chalitza. No, but since we're requiring her to do chalitza, may the other the chumra ba'almahu. Everybody's going to know, right, that since they're requiring chalitza, it's not because that there was a marriage there. It's not because there was a marriage there. The marriage there was a safek. It's just they know that chalitza is for a chumrah. Okay, so if that's the case, so then why not do it by the get too? Listen, why don't you say chalitza? Who made the yadi the chumrah b'amahu? If you allow the woman, we have a shayla whether she's divorced, so just let her get chalitza, and then there's no problem. So then the Gemara says, no, because the problem is that when you tell somebody you can do chalitza, then they might say, hey, if I do chalitza, so if I want to marry her, so let me marry her, which you can't do because there's a shayla. So the Gemara says, okay, so the same thing by kiddushin. If you're going to say that she should do chalitza by a safek kiddushin, so then you might end up coming to do yibum. Right? So Gemara says, so we're saying that it doesn't make a difference if she does yibum. Let's say taka, she's not supposed to do yibum. This is a difficult teretz to understand. I'm not saying the other ones are easy, but the tisyavim be'em v'kachlum do yibum. And what's the worst that happens? They do yibum. A chazaka kakaimi. The chazaka is that she needs yibum. Right? The chazaka is that this woman needs yibum because there was some form of marriage here, and she was married to this person's brother-in-law, so sister-in-law. She was married to this guy's brother who died. So the chazaka is that she needs yibum. So good, we don't do it because we have a shayla and a safek. So what's the worst that's going to happen? We're asking is that if you're going to do chalitza, if you're going to let them do chalitza, they may end up saying you could do yibum, but you can't do yibum because it's a safek. You don't want them to do a safek deraisa.
Well, there's enough kaminas. Enough kaminas if the brothers are kohanim.
You mean because why?
We're not talking about kahanim. That's keeping your family. We're not interested.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I forgot to ask for permission first.
Listen, what do you call it? You're saying for kahanim, if you do chalitza, you mean that's a good question, Ty. What are you going to do with chalitza? You mean since it's a safek chalitza, can the kohen marry her?
Right, if it's a gerusha or if it's a widow, almana. There's enough kamina. If she was married, then doing the chalitza, she's prohibited to the brother. If she was never married, she's permitted to the brother.
I wonder, Taka. So what would we do with the kohen for this chalitza? Pashtus said you're right. The kohen would be sacrificed. I don't know. Oh, that's not it. That was no pun.
Right.
There was no pun intended. Yeah, the kohen l'chara wouldn't be able to marry her, I think. Anyway, so we're saying that tisyam v'embekach klum because chazaka kakaim, right? Because l'maiser chazaka that she needs yibum. So what's the worst that will happen? She does yibum. Okay, I don't clearly understand that because you're saying now there's a safek over here that maybe it's at least a safek of a lav, and you're saying what's the worst that could happen? They do it. Okay, I don't know. So then, fine. Abaya has a question on this whole chazaka business because nafal Abaya is a love al basach. Right. So the standard cases of nafal of covenant in front of an erva is if you have the brother married his niece. Right. This is going to come up a couple of times. Right. The standard case is the brother marries his niece. Right. And now the father dies. So now he has to do yibum. He has to do yibum to
no, the brother dies. The brother
died. I'm sorry, the brother died. Right now he has to do yibum to his daughter.
To his daughter.
I think I would know this already. Every time you go through it again, you could just get. He married his
brother married the man, his brother's daughter, and then
but then there would be no yibum. There'd be no yibum, right?
Yes, I thought that's what you wanted to say.
Right, no, right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So no, that you can't beat it. He married his niece, right? Guy marries his niece. Then the brother dies.
The husband dies.
Well, whoever.
Right. Okay.
The husband dies.
She can't marry her father.
So
he can't do yibum.
She can't marry her father.
Right. The brother that married the niece dies.
Yes.
The co-wife. The question's the co-wife.
Right. So the brother marries the niece. So then you have so the brother that married the niece died. Correct. Yes. Sometimes I forget that. Yeah. So again, the brother married the niece died. So now this brother's got to be Meyavim, his daughter. Right. So that's out. But then you have the co-wife. So that was saying she's also public. Right. So what happens if the house fell down? Right. Nafal Abaya is alav v'al bas achim, on him and on his niece. Vein Yedua, Ezim and Meis Rishon. We have no idea who died first. They're both in the house, right? There's couples in the house. We don't know who died first.
Oh, because if she died first, then you'll be able to do yibum to the
Correct.
co-wife.
Correct. If she dies first, then there's yibum. If she doesn't die first, then there's no yibum. He dies first, then there's no yibum. So we have no idea, right? So tzarasa chalitza v'lo misevemes. So of course the tzara is going to get chalitza, not yibum, like we do in every case. In every case, amai. Why? Hachanami name isha zu becheskas heter l'shukim medes. Bottom line is that her husband is dead, right? So she should be mutter, and her husband's dead, and she should be related to. It should be her father as the yibum, which means that she has a chazaka, that she goes free, and so does her co-wife. And you want to come say that she's asur and make her do chalitza? Al tasrona misafek. Don't make her asur from a safek. So when it says v'chitema hachanami l'chumra, if you're going to say it's a chumra does do they kulahu. Shemata aimer chaletzes misiyabemes. Because if you're going to say chaletzes, then you're going to be misiyabemes. So bottom line is, here we see that we don't go with the chazaka and we require chalitza. So the Gemara answer is gerushin deshchichi goes with Rabbanan. This is a big yisoid. If there's anything to get out from this daf, it's difficult, but this is a big yisoid in Takanas de Rabbanans, which is gerushin deshchichi goes with Rabbanan. Divorce is a common thing, unfortunately, but it's a common thing. So the Chachamim were afraid, so they made a gezerah. Mapailas, but a couple dying in a collapsed building, the loy shchichi, loy gazu Rabbanon, that Rabbanon just didn't make a gezerah, right? Meaning, so there's a lot of times where you say, like, oh, 1 second, this is why did the Rabbanon make the gezerah in situation A and not in situation B? And the reason is because one is common, one is not common, even though the reasons should apply to both equally, right? I'll tell you an example having to do with Ilchos Nida, it's probably the most common, I think, is that, right, so a woman, a newlywed, so the first time there's intercourse, she has to, what we call dam besulim, so they have to separate like Nida, right? One of the more wild gezerah derabbanan that there is out there, right? But she only has to wait 4 days, not 5 days. Right, you only wait 4 days, meaning there's a minimum waiting time for Nida before you could do 7 clean. Right, 4. It's 5 waiting days, but for Dam Basulim we say 4. Why? Because it's loy shchiach. The reasons should apply the same. Whatever the reasons are that you have to wait a minimum of 5 days before starting 7 clean days should apply here too. But it's just not shchiach. So since it's not shchiach, meaning the 5th day is Gzeir D'Rabbanan. So it's not shchiach, so we just say it's not, but it doesn't have anything to do with anything. The Gzeira should apply whether she's a Nida from Dam Basulim, whether she's a Nida regular, you should be waiting 5 days, but you only wait 4 because it's not common. Even though it is common, because every girl has this.
What's not common?
Meaning it's Dam Basulim, right, so that's the thing. Even Dam Basulim, which is common, because but since it's only once in a lifetime, Masha'en Kain, a period is monthly, so then that's considered not common, and therefore they don't make the Gezerah. Yeah, listen, what should I tell you? That's what I'm saying. This yisoid of that the Rabbanon don't make Gezerahs when it's not common, even though the reasons should still apply. Yeah.
So if it's a second marriage, she doesn't wait the 4
Correct.
4 days
She
at all.
doesn't have to end. Yeah.
Why don't they make the Gzeira Otu?
Exactly, because they don't do it because it's not common. When it's not common, they just don't make the Gzeira. That's a rule. That is a basic rule in Gzeira D'Rabbanans.
And if she lost her basulas some other way other than
She wouldn't have to.
She doesn't have to wait either.
Correct. Okay, so that's one teretz. Inami gerushin dekaima erva dekamucha b'tzarasa kamatzrachas a chalitza, right? So gerushin that there's a, how do you say it? Where's the Rashi? Gerushin dekaima erva dekamucha, by gerushin where you have the erva is muchach, it's right in front of us, right? Everybody, Rashi says, I'll call Ryan shazut tzaras erva. So everybody knows, the whole world knows when okay, hey, you hear the news? This guy's got to be miyavim his daughter. Ooh, wow, right? It makes it to all the, the websites and all that. You hear this strange case, so everybody's aware of it. The tzarasa kamatzrach is a chalitza, right? So if the tzara we say needs chalitza, amri kama be rabbanan begita degita ma'alyu. The rabbanan must have said that it was a good get. V'asul liyavume the tzara, and he's going to end up maybe doing yibum to the tzara, right? So that's why we don't want any chalitza. But mapilas, mi kamu b'hu rabbanan mapilas, right? Nobody's going to think that the rabbanan figured out what's going on in the mapilas. Meaning by the get, so the chachamim say, oh, the chachamim figured out a way that it must have been a kosher get, and therefore everything is okay. But by a mapilas, nobody's going to think that the rabbanan figured out who died first, which I'm not so sure why. I don't know. Nowadays, maybe there's ways to figure that out. Right, forensics and all that. Maybe you could figure it out.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with Gzeira D'Rabbanan.
No, nothing.
No one's going to say.
But
no one's going to say that the Rabbanan figured out who died first.
True.
Even if today, right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe technology you could today. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
technology is not the Rabbanan.
No, that's true. Same one as a different caution. What do you say?
You could use 9/11 as an example, that they were using technology and different forensics to figure out if to release
if they died. Yeah, I just wonder in this case, would they taka use forensics to say, okay, this one seems to have died earlier than the other one.
We just had the search site thing in Florida.
All right, taka, right, yeah. So I don't know if we would use it for that. Okay, but anyways, that's what the Gemara is saying, that nobody's going to think that the Rabbanan figured out the pshat. So therefore, you could do chalitza. Nobody's going to think that, oh, the mela you could do yibum too. Now I'm going to ask a strong kasha. But Gabi Gerish and Milot, I'm not saying the other one wasn't strong, but this is mama straight out, and not like our mission. Because again, yeah.
I don't know if you have time. Why would forensics be different than the Gaira Lagra? Why would it be different?
No, because there you're relying on technology. I mean, who's doing a Gaira Lagra? You want to say the Gaira Lagra to figure out who died first?
Well, Rabbi 11 used the Gaira Lagra to get the bodies from the Bachram and Yungalite that were murdered in Gush Etzion. That's how they buried them, from the Gaira Lagra that Rabbi 11 did.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he figured out the times, but he figured out who was who with the Gaira Lagra.
Oh, you mean the bodies, like an identification?
The bodies, yeah.
I hear. Interesting. I don't know how you would use that. I don't know. So anyway, so the Gemara asks, the Gabi Gerushin, Miloi Tnan, does by Gerushin, did we not learn by Gerushin? Again, let's just review. The Mishnah says safek kiddushin is whether the money or the star was thrown closer to the woman or to the man. Right, and by gittin, it starts talking about whether there's edim, this and that. How come by get it doesn't say the example of a safek get is whether the get was thrown closer to her or not? Here we're going to have the Ferish Mishnah that says it. A woman was standing in the public, and he threw her a get. Karav la migureshes. If it's closer to her, she's divorced. Karav la heina migureshes. It's close to him. She's not divorced. Mechza al mechza. Let's say it's right there in the middle. Migureshes ve'ena migureshes. She's divorced and she's not divorced. Right? We could have been mechavan to that. What's the halacha? Di kayin who Now we're on to Kohanim. The Kohen who Asurale. She is usher to him, meaning he can't get remarried to her because it's a safek of a get. He's not allowed to remarry her. Be ervihi, and if she's an erva, tzarasa by chalitza, the tsar is going to need chalitza. I mean, she can't just go free. And there we don't say that, if we're going to allow them to do chalitza, maybe they're going to end up doing yibum, right? How come we don't say that there? So Gemara says, Hayit Mar Allah, Rav Yosef, Tamri Tarvayu, that Rav and Yosef say, we're talking about two sets of witnesses. Two. One set of witnesses says the get was closer to her. And the other one says it was closer to him. When you have two Eidim versus two Eidim, that's a safek braysa. And therefore it's a safek braysa, you got to be machmer. And you got to do chalitza. And our Mishnah is talking about the kat achas. We're talking about one pair. It's a safek d'Rabbanan. Now there's a big tumult exactly what this kat achas means. Rashi says it's 1/8 says one way and 1/8 says another way. The problem with that is how are we ever relying on 1/8? But okay. This is not isurim though. This is in what do you call it? Marriage. This is benegeh to a rayas. What's not a rayas? So you need two. Isurim is
when she comes back and says she's not an
but that's just to confirm. That's not Adis. Not Adis. You can't have 1/8 in a ksuba. Yeah, that's what it is. You need two. So that's what's shver on Rashi. Whatever it is, the bigger chiddush is, and that's not a chiddush, but the Gemara is going to totally make an about face on this in a few lines anyways. But the Torah is saying when you have two witnesses saying A and two witnesses saying B, that's considered a safek d'oraisa, and we have to be machmer. Okay? So that's what we're saying. That the difference in the case. One case is where it's two Eidim against two Eidim, one case is 1/8 against another Eidim. How do you know that our Mishnah is talking about one group? To me, the kiddushin. It's similar to kiddushin. Ma kiddushin b'kat achas. Just like kiddushin has one pair, av gerushin b'kat achas. So gerushin also has one pair. Okay, how do you know kiddushin is one pair? For kiddushin gufayim, imayid b'kat achas. Right? Where does kiddushin? How do you know kiddushin is with one pair? Maybe there's two pairs. So Gemara answers, if there was two, then why don't you just do yibum and there's nothing there, right? So obviously because you have perfect testimony if there's two Eidim. So since it can't possibly that you have that. So what it says, you got two Eidim who are saying that it's close to her, and you're saying that she should have yibum and there's nothing wrong. You have two Eidim that say that they're divorced, right? How can you go say that there's two Eidim
that they're married?
What? No.
Isn't this kasha on the kiddushin? We're still in kiddushin, aren't we?
No.
You said tisyabim vein klum is on the kiddushin.
Correct. I'm sorry. Right. I switched back to God. Thank you. So again, Kami Eidim and Kami Karav Law. There are Eidim that say it was close to her and therefore they're married. And then say, and meaning the male the tsaras potter because it's erva. And and you're going to say that she should have yibum and there's nothing there. Now the Gemara does an about face. We just got finished saying when it's two Eidim against two Eidim, it's a daraisa. Now the Gemara is saying no, two Eidim against two Eidim is a safek d'Rabbanan. Damrinan uki trei lebahati trei. You put two against two, they negate each other. V'isha ukma chazaka, and you put the woman on her chazaka. So then the Gemara says midi dahava nischi de Bar Shatya. It's similar to the nechasim, to the belongings of Bar Shatya. So Bar Shatya means somebody who is a shaita. The Bar Shatya zavin nichse. Bar Shatya, meaning he was what do you call it? He went in and out of having sanity, right? So Bar Shatya zavin nichse. He sold some belongings. Asu beitrei ba'amri kishu chalim zavin. Asu beitrei ba'amri kishu shaita zavin. So two came and said that when he's chalim, right? We had this once before. Cholim means he's healthy. Right? Now, whose sense of humor it was to call a chayla healthy, right? I don't know. I mean, that's Yevamos. That's just Yevamos. You read it, they say, he's sick now or he's healthy. So cholim means he was healthy. Right? Maybe it's schizophrenic, maybe that's, but anyways, so two said, what? Bipolar, right? Bipolar. There's been many a machlokes in Klal Yisrael when they claim that the older person, when writing the get, not writing the Yerusha, lost his sanity. Many a fight happened because of this shayla, right? So again, two of them say when he sold it, he was clear. Vasu Beitreva Amakishu Shaitazav, and he was a Shaitav. Amaravashi Uki Tre Lahadi Tre. You take two and you put them opposite two, they negate each other. Antam days now. Bar Shatya, and the land goes into chazaka Bar Shatya because he's the one that had it. So we look at it like it was not sold. Whatever it is, so you see two opposite of two is is acceptable. Is not acceptable, and we knock it out. So Mamela, we back to our original question. Was why are you allowing chalitza and not why are you allowing chalitza? Maybe it's going to come to people are going to end up doing yibum. Elo Amar Abaya. So Abaya has a different shot. It's going to be a short-lived shot because it's going to be slugged up in a minute. But Abaya has a total different shot. Again, what we're looking for here is why the safek kiddushin is a case of safek karav like safek karav law, and by gittin it's three different scenarios of whether there was Eidim, if there was no Eidim, whether there was a date written or not. So he said, Yagid Allah Re'u. The pasuk says that it's on the friend talks about it. So what does that mean? The friend talks about it. Tana b'kiddushin, huadin legerushin. It says that din by kiddushin, meaning safek karav law, safek karav law, and the same thing by gerushin, meaning just because it says it by kiddushin and it says something else by gerushin, doesn't mean that it's exclusive. It's not exclusive. Each one is there to talk to the other. Meaning, so kiddushin, we used one example by kiddushin, but it will also apply to gerushin. And we use some examples by gerushin, it will also apply to kiddushin. Right? V'huadin legerushin, satana begerushin, v'huadin lekiddushin. The problem is the Mishnah says zehu. And the Mishnah says zehu this, and by gerushin it says it, and then it says it by kiddushin. Zehu is mashma that it's for that one exclusive. It's kiddushin exclusive. It's gerushin exclusive. Someone like Rava iyagad lav reu my zehu tikatani. What's the zehu? Okay, so now we do away with Abaya. Elo ma Rava. Rava said kol sheyesh b'kiddushin yesh b'gerushin. Whatever there is in kiddushin has by gerushin. Meaning whatever safek you're going to say by kiddushin will also apply to a get. But yesh b'gerushin mashein b'kiddushin. But there can be different shilas that come up by a get that will not necessarily be by kiddushin. The gerushin lav dafka. So when it says gerushin is lav dafka. Ella mishum the tana zehu b'kiddushin tana nami zehu b'gerushin. The reason why it said the word zehu is to tell you because we said it by kiddushin, so we also said it by gerushin. So again, we're saying here that whatever safek happened by kiddushin, safek karav law will apply to gerushin too. But gerushin has a bunch of other shilas that come up that do not apply to kiddushin. Namely, we're going to say that having it dated. By kiddushin, the shtar does not have to be dated. Okay, so when it says v'zehu to kiddushin l'mutei, when it says zehu by kiddushin, what's it coming to exclude? L'mutei is man to leka by kiddushin. It's coming to exclude zman that there isn't by kiddushin. Meaning a get has to have zman in it. Kiddushin does not have to have zman. So there's never going to be a shaila in kiddushin whether there's a time in it, because it doesn't need a date. It does not need a date. By the way, we're talking about kiddushin here. We are not talking about the ksuba, right? A ksuba between a man and woman that we have by our chasanas, of course, has to have a date. It's a contract, right? It's a contract when the husband has to start his responsibilities. Of course, it needs a date, right? We're talking about by kiddushin. We're talking about where sort of like we're doing here with mechiras chametz, right? You're writing a shtar, right? It doesn't. I mean, this has a shtar that it takes the place on the 14th, right? But by kiddushin, all he's doing is writing, I'm going to marry you, and he gives it a piece of paper. That's all it is. You don't need a date for that, right? That Gemara is going to discuss why you don't need a date for that, but that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a shtar, we're not talking about the ksuba. Anyways, so when Bnei, so the Gemara asks, how come taka, there's no zman in the kiddushin? So now, as a hakadama, also a fascinating Gemara. I'm fascinated by at least one of the shitas is why do you need a zman in a get? So there's a machlokes why you need a zman in a get. One is very simple. When a man gets married to a woman, so he in exchange of him providing her money and or ransom money, if she gets kidnapped, he is allowed to eat he has the rights over all the fruits of her field. He doesn't get to keep the field, but it's sort of like he gets to rent the fields, he gets the rights to all the fruits. If they get divorced, then he loses that right. So you need a date in the shtar when he has to stop eating the fruit. That's why you need a date in the shtar. Right? That's one opinion. The other opinion why he needs a date in the shtar, Rabbi, I'm saying this one is for you, right? Why do you need a date in the shtar, in the get? Because he may have married his niece, which was a mitzvah to do, and then his niece may go be mezana, which again, this is his wife, right? It's his wife that was mezana, and he's going to try and bail her out because it's his niece, so he likes her. I mean, it was his regular wife, this wouldn't be a chashash, but since it's his niece and he doesn't want her to die. So therefore, he might fudge it and say, by the way, the get was 2 weeks before she was mezana. But these Adam come and said she was mezana. No, it was 2 weeks before. Why? Because he likes his niece. Okay, his brother must be very wealthy or something.
That was his last Hanukkah present.
Yeah, what? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, whatever it is, it's a wild gezeira according to that sheet. So that's why you need a date in case he marries his niece. And his niece is mezana, and he is going to predate the get, right? So that's why the get needs a date.
That's going to happen more than the building falling on two people.
I don't know. Right. So anyway, so that's it. So so for fruit, according to the Mandamar, it says the reason why you need a date in the get is for fruit. So arusa les laperi. A husband when he gets engaged, eris and kiddushin, same thing. He does not have to start feeding his wife, right? The way they did is they got engaged, a year later they got married. That year of engagement, let's call it engagement, right? It's really marriage. He does not have to feed her. So since he doesn't have to feed her, he doesn't get the fruit anyways, right? So therefore, who cares that there's a date? He doesn't get the fruit anyway. So why does kiddushin have to have a date, right? But the one that says that you need a get because of the niece, and he's going to want to save his niece, so the sakin's man. I'm sorry, did I skip a word? You should put his man because he may fudge the kiddushin. Let's say she's mezana in that year, right? So if there's no date in the kiddushin, maybe he'll fix the date and say, "Oh, she wasn't married to me when she was mezana. She wasn't married to me yet." Right? Let's say tonight she said she was mezana tonight, and really they got married kiddushin 2 weeks ago. He's going to say, if there's no date, he's going to put in a date that the kiddushin was next week. And therefore, he's going to say she was single when she was mezana. Meaning the same way we're going to be chayshid, he's going to fudge the get, he'll fudge the kiddushin too. So the Gemara says, no, because some people have a kiddushin with silver. They, what we do, you give a ring. And then there are some that are makadosh with a star. So lo yitiken rabbanan's man. So since many people do kiddushin with money and not with a star, so then you're not writing a zman on money. You can't. Right? What are you gonna do? Take an engagement ring or a marriage band and write the date that it was given? You don't do that. So once you're not writing a date on that, so you're not writing a date on a star either. So but an eved, right? You have to buy an eved. You can buy an eved with money. You can buy an eved with kesef. The tikkun rabbanan's man, and the rabbanan, when you buy an eved with money, you do have to write in the shtar. You have to know when you own the eved, as of when you own it. So you do put it in there. So the Gemara answers, Hasam ruba b'shtara, hacha ruba b'kasper. No, roiv people by a slave buy them with a shtar. Here, most by marriage, most people do with kesef. So therefore, we're not going to require a time. Ibay is saying, no, should delay efshar. What are you going to do? How are you going to put a date into the kiddushin? Hey, how should you do it? If you're going to leave the shtar of the kiddushin, right, by her, she's going to erase it. If she's mezana, so she's just going to erase she's going to either hide it or she's going to erase the shtar. Put it by him. Zimin the basachasi. Sometimes he'll marry his niece. And he's also going to erase it and change the date. So what's it help to put a date? You're going to leave it by her, she'll change the date. You leave it by him, he's going to change the date. Right? Limchuk avi edim. You're going to leave it with the edim. So if they're going to remember when this kiddushin happened, they remember the date, then bring them to say edus. You don't need to have the zman. And if they don't remember, so then maybe they'll look at the shtar and they'll come to say testimony based on what the shtar says. But the Torah says, Eidim, when they testify, they have to testify from their mouths. They can't testify from their notes. This is against any policeman who you have to fight a ticket with. The Eidus is coming, right? They take out their notebook. They don't remember anything, right? They're reading off their notes. That is not admissible in a Jewish court. You have to remember what went on. You don't just read it off your notes. So what's the bottom line is, what's the point of dating the ksuba? Dating the kiddushin. If you're giving a shtar that he's marrying it, if he holds on to it, he'll change the date if necessary. If she holds on to it, she'll change the date. If the Eidim remember when the wedding was, they'll testify about it. And if they don't remember when the wedding was, their testimony is no good because they're reading it off a piece of paper. So what's the point of putting in the date? So Gemara says, okay, so
should there be a prep with Eidim? Like before Tanayim, you see like all this prep going on with the Eidim, which means nothing. But by Eidim, by the chuppah, nobody says a word. By the ksuva, by the chuppah, nobody says a word. They just say sign here.
Yeah, okay.
By the Tanayim, it's a big whole conversation.
Okay. I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's because everybody notices it more. Okay, whatever it is. I hear. So the Gemara says either way. By the divorce, also say this. Right? What are you going to do? Put a date in the get. So she'll, if she ends up being mazana, she'll change the date. If he holds on to the get, then he'll change the date. Or the Eidim, what's the point? So Gemara's answers, Hasam latzala didakas. We want her to hold on to the get. We want to save her money. Right? Whoever thinks that it's not to bring in controversy here, but whoever thinks that we're not worried about that only the man could give the get and we don't care about the woman, right? This Gemara clearly cares about the woman because they're saying, no, the reason why we're putting the date in the get is to save her money. Because if you don't put a date in the get, the husband who's divorcing is going to say, no, I'm taking the fruit till who knows when, right? And he's going to rip her off. So like this, it's for her savings. So therefore, we put the date in it. But by the what do you call it? By kiddushin, it's going to end up being machayev her. So we don't want to do that. So there you go. There's your women's rights. There's your women's rights right over there. Right. So so the bottom line is the last teretz that we're going with is that really the safek by gerushin is the same as by kiddushin. And the only thing the Mishnah was adding, the Mishnah was teaching us that there's a few nuances by get that you don't have by kiddushin, namely that you have to have a zman. You have to have a zman written in it. Yeah. Should we stop here? What's how long is it? Okay, we'll stop here. Thursday night.
What time is Daf?
Oh, so what time tomorrow?
Jack, we got to make up times for tomorrow.
The Oilam's making early Shabbos or not? Just Mr. Meyer.
I'm not. No.
Where I need my.
You can get a Kaddish right now. 3 minutes.
I need mine.
What time is Shabbos? Like 7:05, 7:10?
7:09 is candle lighting.
Oh, I say 6:20. 6:20 is fine.
Saturday night.
What have we been doing? 9:15.
So late.
Well, I mean, Shabbos is not over with 72 or it's almost 9 o'clock. We like Shabbos. We're very happy with it.
It's a very long Shabbos already, Tiago.
I'm
8:39.
It's the same length of
doing
Shabbos.
9:15, but now you want to do 9:20?
No, 9:15 is really, really cutting it close.
What time is it for you? Aaron, what
about
time is it?
9:30?
Aaron Burke. Nobody
Minimum
asked you to
9:30.
Memphis.
Reb Ray, for you, 9:30 works.
No, 9:15.
8:25 is Shabbos is 8:25, so it's 9:25 for you.
Okay, let's call it for 9:30.
Whatever, I'll pop one when I can. When I miss, I'll go to you two.
9:30. 9:30.
Aaron, but the shame is that the out of towns are such nice people and the New York people are not, right? That's the shame, right?
Right.
Okay, we'll
I'm
call
not even
925
going to
Musar.
comment. I'm not even going to comment.
One second,
925
Icky, we're not even gonna try to accommodate you, okay?
I know that's right. I've you know.
Oh, I'm so
I
happy this is
understand
being
that I don't-
recorded.
All right, 9:30.
Jacob, you wanna keep
925 Musar.
Jacob, you want to keep
925 Musar.
Shabbos longer. We know you want to keep Shabbos longer.
Right,
So we're-
Rabbaran, since the out-of-towners don't need Musar anyway, so we'll do Musar 925, and then we'll start the Daf 930. Okay. There you go. Anyway,
See you in the
all
morning.
right.
Jacob, when can I come to the comments?
You can come now, or
I want
you
to sleep now.
any night other than Daf time. You can come.
Perfect.
All right. Or when you drive down the block and you honk,
Sure,
whatever,
it's
you
10
can
o'clock,
honk
not
and I'll come
9:45,
out.
right?
All right. So Shayash is 10.
10, okay, so that's next meeting, right?
You can do Suit 10:10.
Why should I wait for
They
later?
have an over there already.
Why should I wait for later? I probably won't get in the issue.
Who's is that? Simon, your speaker making
I
noise
have a
again?
Shaila. I have two questions.
Uh-huh.
Two quick questions. This thing right here, before anyone load, what do I need to do for Pesach? I need to get a whole new thing. I was asking.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
You were asking a
Here.
question. You said you had a question.
Dialem's not likely to hear Naftali's Shilas. So
No,
talk
listen.
loud.
Yeah, that's what-
Just tell them to throw it away.
Do I have to get a new bottom piece?
Is it kosher lepesa?
This,
Flavors?
I'm gonna get a new thing.
It says kosher lepesa.
No, I'm gonna get kosher lepesa flavors.
Tell them to throw it away.
You said it already twice. That's
You
it.
didn't hear me.
Okay, he heard you. He ignored you just like I did. If it leaks into here, does that make it a problem or you just dry it?
What?
Do I need to get a new bottom?
What's wrong with your
How come?
speaker?
How come I don't
Why,
need to get a new
yes.
bottom? It leaks sometimes in here.
So what?
So I don't
That's
need a new
fine.
bottom. Okay. Next is, am I checking the tomorrow?
A man who bought me cholent for supper gets kadima. All right, that's the way it goes. Oh, Elio bought me Rabbi Ramon's Hilchos Shabbos, and Simon bought me his Shemitah. I got a home Mizrahi movement over here, but
What's up
whatever.
with Ramon Hilchos Shabbos?
I was gonna.
Same Agada?
Yeah,
It's good?
2 volumes. I haven't really looked at it yet.
I was going to ask you the opposite of the Zionist stuff that I got you.
But am I checking
What?
the tomorrow?
I said I was going to ask
I
you.
don't think so. I'll let you know. I don't think so.
Okay,
got-
that's one
yeah.
time I'm morning. Now, just 1 second, Elio. Just to let you know, there's 2 different challenge. The guy said bean and barley, and then he also, that's what I wrote. I didn't mean good. I meant food got complicated. I walked in. He said, challenge and kishka. So I said, okay, what type of challenge? Bean or barley? So I said, one of each. Okay, kishka. What type of kishka? Salt or sweet?
That's the way it is. You go for cholent in a Muncie in a Hamish area. They don't just have one cholent. They got a whole smorgasbord of cholent.
The husband and wife that run it, and then the wife turns to me and goes, "You look very familiar." I said, "I'm not from here. I'm from Rockaway." She's looking at me and she goes, "Are you Devorah Dixie's brother?"
Yeah.
I said, "How did you go there?" She said, "You look like her."
I feel bad for her.
Yaakov.
Beard looks good. Beard looks good.
Yes, go ahead.
All right, can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Now it's better. Yeah.
Okay. What are the requirements to become a posek besides for theoretically getting smicha?
A glutton for punishment. The first requirement is a glutton for punishment. No.
I mean, hey, can we turn off the recording for a second? It's real. It's real, Shyla.
Hold on. Simon, you don't want it for your